Alright folks, we have come back now. It is time for a new case and for me to do the next case. This is case number 20 in Sinner's End, Eyes Wide Shut. Well, Matthew, I suppose it's another late shift for us, but crime in Sinner's End mostly happens at night. At least our stay has been productive so far. We've learned that Sinner's End is controlled by the Flanagan Gang, a brother-sister duo of criminals. The sister takes care of the alcohol side of the business, but given the recent decision to prohibit the sale of liquor, I believe we should focus our efforts on the brother. We already know that Finley Flanagan, also known as Mad Dog, was bribing Chief Inspector Halstead. But unfortunately, the proof we have will not stand in front of a jury without Halstead's testimony, which he has stubbornly refused to give. If we want to put Finley behind bars, we need to unearth more dirt about him. Finley runs a number of brothels in Sinner's End, but his exact whereabouts are unknown. If we wish to find him, we should start by... Matthew, I hate to interrupt, but there's a Madame Zhang here to see you. Madame Zhang? The brothel owner whose established burned down in New Haven? Well, what are you waiting for, Evie? Bring her in. Senior Trooper Matthew, you must come quickly. There's been a murder at my Dove Den. A murder? Matthew, let us head to Madame Zhang's brothel at once. As you can see, I'm back over 100,000 energy. And I also did come off doing a case in elite mode in Grimsboro, which is case number 2. Excuse me, case 6. Good cop, dead cop. Holy cow. Torn card. Senior Trooper Matthew, you must remove that body immediately. I cannot have other clients seeing a customer in that state. It will kill their good spirits. Madame Zhang, please. A man is dead. You say this gentleman was a customer? So he was here to avail himself of your services? Quite. He was a regular. Mr. Bauer had just finished his appointment with one of my best girls. We shall require a word with this woman, given she was the last one to see the victim alive. Unfortunately, the poor thing has run away in shock. I don't have the faintest idea where she is. I see. Well, if you could step to one side, Madame Zhang, we shall question you further in an instant. Matthew, I must say that being in such an establishment has caused me a moderate to high amount of discomfort. Though I imagine not as much discomfort as this gentleman must have suffered, this candlestick holder's been thrust into his eye sockets. And thank goodness, I see you found a clue. Let's piece together that torn card quickly. I do not wish to spend a minute longer here than necessary. Alright, I'm going to start the autopsy right now. And I'm going to grab me some stars. So sit tight, everybody. We will be right back. Alright, I have 8 stars. Let's question Madame Zhang now. Senior Trooper Matthew, you must find Mr. Bauer's killer at once. If news of this distasteful incident becomes public, I shall no doubt lose other clients, too. We shall get to the bottom of this heinous crime, Madame Zhang, but it shall be for the sake of justice, not for your business, not your business prospects. Now, what do you know about the victim? Christopher Bauer. Mr. Bauer was one of my best clients. That's all I needed to know. I see. And what about your new boss, Finley Flanagan? How did you come to be working for the Irish? Times are hard after the fire. Mr. Flanagan offered to set me up in a new place in exchange for a cut of the earnings. Beggars cannot be choosers, Senior Trooper Matthew, so I took him up on it. Now excuse me, I need to go clean the bloodstains off the upholstery. This paper you've put back together bears an address in Elysium Fields. Whoever this belongs to must be rather well off, but there's no name, just a monogram with the letters E and W. If we wish to discover who visited Madame Zhang's establishment, we must compare this monogram to our records. Elias Willingham. Fine job, Matthew. The E and W in the card's monogram refer to a Mr. Elias Willingham, a gentleman of leisure. I suppose when one does not need to earn a living, one is free to spend their days consorting with ladies of the night. Let us question this Mr. Willingham about his presence at the brothel. Mr. Willingham, this is Senior Trooper Matthew from the Flying Squad. We believe you recently visited an establishment owned by Madame Please, not so loud. People might hear. It was my first time frequenting a femme galante, so to speak. I just saw the advertisement at the traveling fun fair, and it piqued my interest. I don't make a habit of such things, I swear. Calm yourself, Mr. Willingham. We are not here to question your morals, but rather regarding the murder of a fellow client, Mr. Bauer. Oh, what a relief. I mean, not a relief for the gentleman in question, of course, but I'm afraid I can be of no use, Senior Trooper Matthew. I didn't see a thing. We shall investigate that fun fair you mentioned at once. In the meantime, don't go far. Senior Trooper Matthew may wish to speak with you again later. Okay, now let's see if I can get the first star in the first attempt. Circus box. Bloody pillow. There we go, looks like I'm going to get the first star. And I will. Alright. Why, it's been a while since a fun fair was in town, Matthew. But I see you found a bloody throw pillow. I shall eat my hat if this didn't come from the crime scene. Let's collect a sample of that blood at once. And if our killer discarded that pillow here, they might have touched this box, too. Please, Matthew, do the honors of looking through it. A knife. What in heaven's name was a knife doing among those fair items, Matthew? Shrewd deduction. We've seen the symbols on this knife before. They belong to... Oh, oi, that's my knife. Nobody takes Mad Dog's belongings and gets away with it. Mad Dog? You're Finley Flanagan? Sir, you are just the man we were looking for. Before we return your knife, Senior Trooper Matthew shall require a word. Make this quick, Senior Trooper Matthew. I ain't got time for coppers. We shall decide how long this discussion takes, Mr. Flanagan. Oh yeah? Do you know what happens to coppers who waste my time? Oh, well, we're investigating a murder which took place at your establishment run by Madame Zhang. Do you know anything about that? Ah, Madame Zhang. You know, normally I'd only trust an Irish woman to run one of my brothels, but the girls Madame Zhang provides are just delicious. But I don't know nothing about no murder, Senior Trooper Matthew. Suppose you lot will just have to figure it out for yourselves. Oh, and I'll be having that knife back and all. I'm sorry for caving in, Matthew. Mr. Flanagan got me in a bother. But I shan't let him intimidate me next time. I promise. We shall get to the bottom of this murder. Nice job, Bontemps. Matthew, let us send the blood he collected from that throw pillow to Viola. No coins at all. This is 9 hours. And I'll see you guys when these two are done. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright folks, we have come back. Let's get the results of the blood. Why Viola? What is that overpowering odor? That, dear Isaac, is the smell of success. You see, the blood from that throw pillow did indeed belong to your victim. So Matthew was right. The killer took the pillow from the brothel after the murder. But what does that have to do with this suffocating smell? I feel quite nauseous. Well, mixed in with the blood, I found traces of lavender, citrus mask, and lilac. I combined these ingredients myself in order to compare them to the fragrances on the market. And they correspond perfectly to Shenhaligon's Lavender Lust fragrance for men and women. The fragrance was concentrated in the blood stains, but as your victim clearly did not bleed it all over the pillow, I can only assume it came from your killer. So now we know our killer wears Shenhaligon's Lavender Lust. They won't come out of this smelling of roses. And the autopsy. Matthew, it is most unfortunate that your killer used a candlestick holder to stab your victim. Such a murder weapon provides little opportunity for self-experimentation. Anyhow, the length of these prongs means that the thrust of the face penetrated your victim's brain via his eye sockets. It killed him instantly. Prior to that, he was subject to a number of stab wounds to the torso, but these initial blows were not fatal. Spare us further details, Richard. I'm quite squeamish when it comes to the subject of eyes, and this investigation has already begun on a most unpalatable note. Speaking of the unpalatable, I found traces of something fishy on the base of the candlestick holder, but your killer must have imparted when they grasped the implement. The substance left on the candlestick holder comprises white wine vinegar, pepper, and shallots, all the ingredients needed for a mignonette sauce, which is traditionally served with raw oysters. Oysters with sauce? But every fool knows that oysters are best served au naturel. Sorry, Matthew, there are more pressing matters at hand, you're right. Because now we know that our killer eats oysters. The world shall no longer be their oyster once you put them in jail. Matthew, let us recapitulate. We have a client stabbed to death in Madame Zhang's brothel, and the girl who serviced him has disappeared. Madame Zhang herself seemed keen for us to solve the murder quickly in order to avoid losing any more customers. While one of the said customers, Mr. Willingham, claims he was visiting the establishment for the first time but didn't witness the murder. Our encounter with Irish gang leader Finlay Flanagan was no more fruitful. He showed a frightful contempt for Matthew, there's a Miss Perrin here who insists on speaking with you at once. She claims you met at a barber shop in New Haven. Miss Perrin, the barber's help you met whilst investigating Father Donovan's murder, Matthew? Well, let her in, Evie. Senior Trooper Matthew, I got information about your investigation I have. Your victim, he were the one who employed me as a lady of the night.
Introducing the LG G6, the big screen fits in your head. Buy the LG G6 and get a Google Home on us, both with a Google Assistant built in.
Marie knows that a Dutch apple pie can make any occasion feel more special, so she makes.
We'll get to Chapter 2 after this. Alright folks, we have come back. Let's start Chapter 2 of Eyes Wide Shut. Matthew, let us recapitulate. We have a client stabbed to death with the candlestick holder in Madame Zhang's brothel, and the girl who serviced him has disappeared. Could Mr. Bauer's murder be linked to his brothel frequenting habits, or might it be entirely unrelated? Matthew, there's a certain Miss Perrin demanding to see you. Miss Perrin, the barber's help you met whilst investigating Father Donovan's murder, Matthew? Well, let her in, Evie. Senior Trooper Matthew, I got information about your investigation. I have. I heard you've been investigating Mr. Bauer like you were a normal client, but you were the one who employed me as a lady of the night. You mean our victim was a purveyor of women? Miss Perrin, we shall need to speak to you about this immediately.
Special finishes and papers. Absolutely guaranteed. Every time. For any reason. Because you have
About the victim's occupation.
Have your car. 500 started just $9.99. When you enter PC 500.
You say Mr. Bauer previously employed you as a lady of the night, Miss Perrin? That's it. Before I gave up all that bad stuff and got myself a job as the barber's help. But why would Mr. Bauer visit Madame Zhang's establishment when he employed girls of his own? People like Mr. Bauer don't mix business and pleasure, Senior Trooper Matthew. He never fooled around with his own girls. I see. And did you maintain a relationship with Mr. Bauer after you left his employment? I did, yeah. He used to visit the barber shop. He had marvelous sideburns, so he did. Needed lots of upkeep. In fact, he were there earlier today. Thank you for your help, Miss Perrin. Considering the victim was a client at your barber shop, we must take a look there immediately.
He's dull, boring, and has dubious taste, to say the least.
That is some schoolgirl attempt to get my goat. You're wasting your breath.
I'm simply questioning how any man could possibly choose to work with him.
It's not working, though.
I suppose there could be some exceptions.
Got the first star.
You bimbo. sweet talk about you having a crush on me.
Well, I did, but that was a long time ago.
But what about last night?
Matthew, Gladys was not lying about the victim's presence here. This cane bears her initials. But I wonder what that white substance on the cane's handle is. Collecting a sample should help elucidate the matter. And this is an advertisement for a house of disrepute. There's something written on it. If you hold up your end of the bargain, I'll hold up mine. That's all very cryptic. Perhaps deciphering this code on the flyer shall shed some light on what this bargain entailed.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman at table 5 in the blue suit is impotent. Gone up.
This sound, when calls the heart, is all
Alright? Let us place the substance collected from the victim's cane under the microscope, Matthew. And that we shall, Bontemps.
at 9 on Hallmark Channel.
Jay Bush and Duke here, but I'm in the mood for hot dogs and burgers. I go with the classic taste of Bush's baked beans. But I'm feeling bolder, so I go for the robust flavor of Bush's grilling beans. They're a perfect match for steaks and chops.
Dude, I like this wild side.
Bush's Beans. Whatever your mood, we've got a bean for you.
Face powder. This white substance collected from the victim's cane is rice powder. The face powder. You say you recall Madame Zhang using rice powder as makeup in a previous investigation? Why, your memory must be far superior to mine, Matthew. But how could Madame Zhang's makeup have ended up on our victim's cane? We must ask her to enlighten us.
He's kind of catchy. With Rubbermaid's fresh food technology, your produce stays fresh.
Got our makeup on the victim's cane. Madame Zhang, can you explain how your makeup ended up on Christopher Bauer's cane? Caught out by my makeup again? This is a bad case of deja vu. Let us cut to the chase. We know Mr. Bauer was also in the business of providing girls. Did you kill him out of rivalry? Please, I could have cared less about it. What I did care about was the fact he roughed up my girls. He even raised his hand to me once. He knocked the oyster I was eating straight out of my mouth with his cane. Brutish behavior indeed, Madame Zhang. It is a good reason to want someone dead. Bauer was scum, but I wouldn't have dirtied my hands killing him. No amount of lavender lust could hide the stench of murder. Now, good day.
Restasis multi-dose has natural ability to produce tears, which may be reduced by inflammation.
Could very well be Madame Zhang, but we'll see.
Restasis multi-dose did not increase tear production in patients using anti-inflammatory eye drops or tear duct plugs.
Oh no, the tedious one.
Eye injury and contamination. Do not touch the bottle tip to your eye or other surfaces. Wait 15 minutes after use before inserting contact lenses. The most common side effect is a temporary burning sensation. Your eyes, your tears. Ask your eye doctor about Restasis multi-dose.
Pure is big, bold, bright, and just better. That's why at McCormick, Pure Flavor is our mission, so you can realize the rich
There we are.
taste of pure flavor. After all, the smallest pinch of McCormick can make meals legendary. Because pure tastes better.
These numbers you deciphered from the flyer mean nothing to me, Matthew, but no doubt Evie shall transform them into a veritable lead.
You start to lose that weight. It's time to reclaim your closet.
As you can see, I'm still over 100,000 energy. 12 hours, I'll get the results tomorrow morning. And for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Alright guys, I'm back under Unlimited Energy Happy Hour. So let's go ahead and speed this up. Hello there, Matthew. You're just in time to hear the riddle I concocted. Oh, a riddle. Let's hear it then. For some, my chambers lie bare as a bone. For others, they are almost overflown. I am at the heart of civilization, for remuneration is the people's motivation. I must admit that I am entirely clueless. The answer is a bank, Matthew. The numbers you deciphered on the brothel flyer correspond to a bank account belonging to your victim. That didn't explain the message about holding up the bargain, however, so I took a closer look at Mr. Bauer's finances. And the last payment before his death came from a certain Mr. Willingham. Mr. Willingham sent money to our victim, but he claimed he didn't even know the man. We must ask him at once why he lied, Matthew. About his bargain with the victim. Oh, Senior Trooper Matthew, you caught me enjoying a delicious treat from the fun fair. It only cost 5 shillings. Are you short of money after making that payment to our victim? We found the message he left you. What was the bargain he referred to? Oh dear, you found out about that sordid affair. I'm sorry, Senior Trooper Matthew. I should have been more candid. It wasn't my first time at the brothel. Bauer saw me there on multiple occasions and threatened to tell my wife if I didn't buy his silence. I tried to pay him off with bottles of lavender lust and my favorite oysters, but he said he wanted cold hard cash. I paid him, but then he demanded even more money to keep quiet. You sound like a desperate man, Mr. Willingham. Let us hope that desperation didn't drive you to ensure Mr. Bauer's silence forever.
At your Honda dealer. When you're working, nothing is more important than a solid foundation.
So not only did our victim employ girls of his own, he also blackmailed their clients. The plot thickens, Matthew. But you're right. We ought to go back to the fall, to the fair. After all, we know our killer passed through there.
Local experience, finding the fit and features to make your job easier and safer. Visit Red Wing Shoes at Honolulu Plaza and now at Rick Center.
Honolulu Cookie Company's delectable 2017 fruit collection featuring the new guava and Lilikoi shortbread cookies. Delicious premium shortbread cookies baked fresh daily in Honolulu. Visit a store.
I really like these happy hours
online at HonoluluCookieCompany.com today.
because I can easily stock up on some more energy and keep myself well over the threshold. Even though I am well above the threshold, up in the 6 figures now.
Welcome back. Hope you're having a good evening. Our weather, not so bad. We're at 75 degrees. Temperature-wise, starting to feel a little comfortable, more comfortable after another hot afternoon. Winds
Here we are.
light, about 5 to 10 of the northeast, and dew point in check in the lower 60s, meaning humidity not quite as high as it could be. So a decent night shaping up. Got a couple of very light showers.
I see your affinity for trash cans persists, Matthew. Take a look if you must. But this doll is intriguing. It's covered in blood and something I can't quite identify. We must vacuum up a sample immediately if we wish to ascertain whether the killer handled this doll.
For the most part, dry conditions continue. As we showed you, leeward sections of the Big Island now under a severe drought, so we could use the rainfall. But so far, we haven't seen any major systems move on through, especially not enough systems to make it down to the Big Island to help you out. As we move through our Friday, still relatively dry, a couple light showers possible in the morning for windward spots. But the story will be increasing trade winds. High pressure building in, that means more trade winds for your Aloha Friday. It'll feel a little bit more comfortable in the afternoon. Unfortunately, though, it's only going to last 1 day because as we head towards the weekend...
Why, such a bracelet does not look like something one would just throw in the trash, Matthew. Decoding the faded name on it, I shed some light on how it ended up there.
Incident, but we are expecting to see a little bit of fog moving our way along with some haze, so just heads up if you're sensitive to that as we head towards the weekend. 84 for your Aloha Friday, lots of sunshine, trades on the increase. It's going to be a great day out there. A little warm, but again, we'll have a little bit more trade winds around, making it feel more comfortable. Starting out in the lower 70s again. Slight chance of an isolated shower, mainly in windward spots, but not a whole lot expected. And if you have evening
Adrienne, I bet. Adriana.
We'll have the trade winds around and rain chances. So it should be a nice night. Into the weekend,
hold on.
as we told you about.
There we go. You may have seen it twice, but hey, that's okay. Adriana. The name on this bracelet reads Adriana. That name doesn't ring a bell. Matthew, are you sure this bracelet pertains to our investigation? I'm Adriana. Are you the police? Did you catch Mr. Christopher's killer? You know about the murder? Are you the lady he was with right before he died? Miss Adriana, Senior Trooper Matthew shall require a word with you. Adriana Brazier. Boy, that last name is pretty deceiving. Did she witness the murder? I'm not sure what you think I can do for you, Senior Trooper Matthew. I didn't see who killed Mr. Christopher. But he was killed immediately after your, session, correct? Yes. I thought he left the building, but when I came downstairs, there he was, dead. I was so scared that I'd be blamed. I know how it is. The first person on the scene is always presumed guilty, so I ran away. I see. Did anything out of the ordinary occur during your encounter with Mr. Bauer? No, he was nice enough. It went by quickly, you know. Right. Well, thank you for your help. We may have more questions for you later.
Dining room, bedrooms, and more. And save up to $250 or get 12 months financing. Come in today, and our home furnishing consultants will help furnish your perfect room. Your style, a world of possibilities. Homeworld.
And let's take a look at the doll. Got him. Let us send the sample you collected from that blood-stained doll to Viola at once, Matthew. 12 hours also. This one I won't speed up. I'll see you guys when that's done. Okay, we have come back. Let's get the results of the red chunks right now. Hello again, Matthew. I see you paid a visit to the fun fair in town. I recall many a trip to the fair when I was a child. My parents would take me as a treat for finishing my science homework. I was far too busy honing my chess technique when I was young to have time for such folly. Anyhow, how did you know we visited the fair? Well, other than the blood, which I can confirm belonged to your victim, the sample Matthew collected from the doll primarily consisted of chunks of apple, sugar, corn syrup, and food coloring. All of which make for a delicious candy apple, minus the blood, of course. Matthew, if our victim's blood ended up on this doll, then it means the killer must have handled it. And that means that they enjoy candy apples. And shrewd deduction. We interrupted Mr. Willingham chomping down on this sweet treat. That's another black mark against him.
Medicare supplement insurance plan is endorsed by AARP, an organization serving the needs of people 50 and older for generations. Plus, 9 out of 10 plan members surveyed say they would recommend their plan to a friend.
Matthew, our investigation has taken us from the very underbelly of society to its upper echelons.
The rest is up to you.
So-called gentleman Elias Willingham was apparently being blackmailed by the victim over his frequentation of Madame Zhang's brothel. And Madame Zhang herself professes that she and her girls were beaten by Mr. Bauer. One of these girls, Adriana, claims to have run away after stumbling upon the victim's dead body, following their appointment. Oi, Senior Trooper Matthew. Mr. Flanagan, what are you doing here? I'm here to tell you to get stuffed. I've tolerated you coppers sticking your nose in for long enough. It's time to sort things out the Flanagan way. Whoa. We'll find out what that is in Chapter 3. See y'all then. Alright. We're now back now for Chapter 3 of Eyes Wide Shut. Matthew, our investigation has taken us from the very underbelly of society to its upper echelons. It transpires that Mr. Bauer was not just a client at Madame Zhang's brothel, he was also a purveyor of girls in his own Oi, Senior Trooper Matthew.
muzzle on
Mr. Flanagan, what are you doing here? I'm here to tell you to get stuffed. I've tolerated you lot sticking your nose in for long enough. It's time to sort things out the Flanagan way. You wish to fight us? Actually, Senior Trooper Matthew is correct. I took out a brute with my fists just yesterday. I'm not afraid of you. Ha! I ain't here to fight you. I'm here to tell you that I'm gonna find Bauer's killer and take care of him. Nobody gets away with murder on Mad Dog's turf unless I ordered it. Taking the law into your own hands? You shall do no such thing. Just you try and stop me, copper. Now out of my way. Matthew, this is a complication we certainly do not need. We must find Mr. Bauer's killer before Mr. Flanagan does. And to do that, we require clues. We know our victim frequented the barber shop, so if you wish to head back there, let us do so at once.
So now we're blaming the victim?
Nobody is blaming her, but we all know how hard it is to get an indictment on a he said, she said, even without the ambiguities.
That was the last. Cox just came back and found traces of GHB in Kelly's urine.
So much for the ambiguities.
Only one reason to slip someone a date rape drug. Find out who spiked her
I
drink.
still have the cat. So?
I want to empower you to go out into the world and understand how the world works. So when someone
Let's do this.
something that's very specific, you can tell them the truth.
Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here on USA.
You pushed me. You made me believe anything was possible.
Gift box.
And now, I'm ready.
Heart-pounding thrills, hair-raising adventures. Get
Bag
to vacation
and the
on a whole new
logs.
level at Universal Parks and Resorts.
There we go.
And milk. With 8 grams of natural protein and 8 other nutrients to provide balanced nutrition. Moms know kids grow strong when they
Why, I wonder what this box contains, Matthew. Heavens, how risque. There's a corset in this box. Perhaps recovering this attached note shall tell us who it belongs to. And this bag belongs to Adriana, the girl who entertained our victim before he was killed. I no doubt you'll crack that lock in a heartbeat. And if you believe this torn paper could lead us to our killer, then we must piece it together. We must make haste, Matthew. I dread to think what should happen if Mr. Flanagan finds our killer before we do.
There is an animal trapped with no protection, forced to live in agonizing conditions, without shelter, food, or water, and time is running out for them. But you can help save them from spending another day alone.
There we go.
By joining the ASPCA today.
Why, this is the likeness of our victim, Matthew, but there's a bullet hole straight through his head. Mr. Bauer may not have been shot, but this shows that someone held a violent grudge against him. Perhaps Evie can determine who drew this.
Provide them with food, shelter, and medical care. April is Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
9 hours, and I will continue on with the corset.
So please go online or call, because this really is the time to help. When you go online or call in the next 10 minutes, we'll send you this free membership kit, including a photo of your name as well as a second chance, a subscription to ASPCA Action Magazine.
The note on this corset reads, Christopher, I can't go through with this. And it was signed by Gladys Perrin. I think I have an idea of just what our victim wanted from Gladys, but we must ask her regardless, you're right.
Don't let them suffer another day. Please help now.
I'm taking you down, Toretto. Come on, brother.
Hello again, Miss Perrin. I apologize for being so direct, but Senior Trooper Matthew found this garment with a note to Mr. Bauer. Precisely, what could you not go through with? Oh, how did you find that? Thing is, I've been a bit hard up. Being the barber's help don't pay too well. And Mr. Bauer, he kept asking me to come back and work for him again. But I couldn't go through with it. I don't want to go back to being a Scarlet Woman, Senior Trooper Matthew. I want to make something of myself. We understand, Miss Perrin. How did Mr. Bauer react to your decision? He tried to force me into it, but I refused. I just reapplied some lavender lust and soldiered on. Nobody can bring down the new Gladys, Senior Trooper Matthew.
Vomiting and the chills were side effects. You could have died, Kelly. But I didn't take anything.
Somebody probably slipped it into your drink.
Whoever did this to you took away your ability to consent to have sex. He raped you. That's what we're trying to find out. But we need you to help us.
You said you were drinking margaritas at the bar? You ever leave your drink on the table?
Trying to go out to dance. I went to the restroom once, but both times I left my glass on the table with everybody else's. How'd you feel when you left? Fine, I guess.
You went straight to the frat house?
Perfect. Well, you've opened Adriana's bag, but the only thing inside is that wallet. The wallet itself is empty, except for this ID card. It belonged to our victim. Could Adriana have stolen our victim's money, Matthew? We need another talk with her, and fast. How she obtained the victim's wallet? Adriana, can you explain how our victim's wallet ended up in your bag? Alright, I admit it. I stole his wallet. Please don't arrest me, Senior Trooper Matthew. Mr. Christopher always underpaid me, and when I asked Madame Jeanne to make up the difference, she practically choked on her candy apple as I sobbed into mine. She said I should be happy enough that she gave me a roof over my head and oysters every other Sunday. I just wanted to save enough money for a fresh start, Senior Trooper Matthew. I saw an opportunity and I took it. We understand your predicament, Adriana, but you lied to us before. Let's hope you're not also lying about Mr. Bauer's death.
Yes, I spoke to Mr. Lee this morning and I gave her my full support.
Pressing criminal charges.
I gave her an alternative to criminal proceedings. The decision is hers.
Drawing of the victim, I'll let run its course. See you in that. Alright, folks, you come back, and let's get the results of the drawing of the victim. Matthew, the drawing of the victim you sent me had me quite stumped. So I called for a little assistance from Diego. Del Lobo is here? Oh, botheration. Always a pleasure, Matthew, though I regret to see that once again Madeline does not accompany you. You shall have to make do with me. Now what can you tell us about the drawing? You mean apart from the very clear bullet hole in the middle of the victim's forehead, indicating that whoever drew this has access to firearms? In this godforsaken district, that could be anyone. You'd better have more for us than that, Mr. Del Lobo. I do. Look at the lines of the drawing. It's like whoever drew this held a pencil in their closed fist. It's like it's someone short-tempered, not used to exercising patience. I was also surprised at you finding it torn, Senior Trooper Matthew. This was a perfect shot. The person who did this should have been proud, not frustrated, unless they have a profound need to be the strongest. Like, say, the leader of a fearsome gang. You mean like Finley Flanagan? Matthew, I think Mad Dog has some explaining to do.
Well, frankly, Rose, I think you're just rushing things. But I don't know, maybe it's better to live with Buddy than to just charge full steam ahead now.
No, it isn't. This is normally wrong.
Got a strife.
It's an out-and-out sin.
Oh look, the coppers are back. I thought something stank, and it ain't my lavender lust. Didn't I tell you lot to back off? Mad Dog doesn't take kindly to people disobeying orders. People who do that come to a sticky end.
Rose Nylund, I have
Is that what happened to Mr. Bauer? Senior Trooper Matthew found the bullet hole you put through his likeness. Ha! You found that, eh? You ain't as thick-headed as you look. I wanted Bauer dead. That pigeon-livered hornswoggler thought he could set up business in my neck of the woods without giving me a penny. That ain't the way it works around here. I get a cut of everything which appends and centers in. How else would I pay for me oysters? Usually it's like taking a candy apple from a baby, but Bauer thought he were special, that he didn't have to pay. So you killed him, is that it? I wanted to, but someone else got there first. A crying shame, but I'll take care of his killer, don't you worry about that. Matthew, Christopher Bauer's murder has proven to be complicated beyond measure. We know Adriana stole our victim's money, but could she have actually killed him to do so? Then there's Gladys, whom Christopher tried to force back into the business. And Finley Flanagan, who loathes our victim for encroaching on his territory. Each of our suspects has a solid motive for murder, but which one carried out the act? If it wasn't Mr. Flanagan, he may very well kill the culprit. Which means we must identify them as quickly as possible. You're right, we should return to the scene of the crime at once, Matthew.
We need to keep our finances separate. He even suggested that since we'll need a bigger place to live, I should give him my half of the money now before I even get there, so that it'll be our place, not his, right from the start. Sounds like you've already made up your mind. I guess I have. Oh, but I feel awful about leaving you guys. I feel like I'm breaking up the Three Musketeers. Honey, you go with your heart. We just want you to be happy. I'm happy. And I want you to be happy. That's why I want you to settle this dress. There's nothing to say. Now, I am wearing this dress, Dorothy. It deserves to be displayed on a devastatingly beautiful body. Who are you going to send it to? Kim Basinger? And what is that supposed to mean? Why don't you think about it while you're inhaling your next cheesecake? How dare she imply that I'm going to eat? Makes me so mad.
Got the first star already. Shrewd deduction, Matthew. The killer must have removed this candle from the candlestick holder, which they used to stab our victim. Let us collect a sample of that substance on the candle's base at once. As for that chest, I dare not put my hands in there. I shall let you search through it.
Mr. Marty's on Market Street, where every dress is a guaranteed one-of-a-kind original. If we have the same dress, Mr. Marty's going to be left with one-of-a-kind. Thank goodness. Yeah, except for what I have to tell you. Oh, it wasn't about the dress? It's about finance and budget. That business of giving him money has been bothering me, so I decided to do some checking on Buddy Road. And after a couple of phone calls, I found out he had just retired after 45 years in the weapons department of the Army Action Office. I don't get it.
Oh my, the contents of that chest were rather interesting. I wonder what this paddle might be used for. You're right. We do not have time for such questions, because you also found a bottle of Shenhaligon's Lavender Lust in the chest. And we know exactly who enjoys smelling nice whilst committing murder, our killer. We must send the bottle to Viola at once.
Absolutely, and it is not the first time he's tried it. Where is Rose? I mean, we have to tell her. Oh, Dorothy, she said she had to go to the bank and then go to meet Buddy. What are we going to do? There's nothing we can do. We just have to wait until she gets home. Oh, good Lord. Hey, girls, how do you like this spiffing little book?
There we go. Let us send that substitute collected from the candle to Viola swiftly. And that's gonna do for this. I'll see you guys when these two are done. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we have come back, and let's put a killer behind bars. Let's get the results of the perfume bottle first. Matthew, thank you for the perfume. I shall wear it to tonight's performance of The Importance of Being Earnest. It was not exactly intended as a gift, Viola. We were actually hoping you might have found some clues on the bottle.
No problem.
I was only teasing, Isaac. I found traces of a substance on the bottle comprising aluminum silicate and sodium carbonate. The two major ingredients needed to remove Ag2S, otherwise known as silver sulfide. In plain English, Viola,
Take your time.
the substance on the killer's perfume bottle was silver polish, the kind used to restore shine to lackluster accessories.
You must be seeing things. What up? Scratch marks.
So our killer wears a silver accessory. Being put in prison will dull their shine, Matthew.
Anything else? A few more questions if you don't mind. Anything I can do to help?
And the clear substance now. Matthew, just when I thought I had gotten to grips with Charlie's DNA machine, you managed to find a way to confound me. Determining that the substance was sweat was easy enough, but the sample was so badly damaged that the DNA machine could not give me a result as to whom it belonged. But we need something to work with, Viola. We have a killer on the loose. Never fear, Matthew. I fine-tuned the machine and finally managed to get some exploitable DNA from the sample. And it told us that your killer has brown hair. I knew you would not let us down. We're one step closer to serving our brown-haired killer justice, Matthew.
Monday on Criminal Minds, Suspect Behavior.
I do believe we have amassed all the evidence we need to arrest Christopher Bauer's killer, Matthew. Let us proceed. Alright, here we go. I have all the stuff. It's not Madame Jean.
How does pods help remove the stress from storage?
Oh.
We deliver a container. You fill it up with things you're keeping for later.
Nope, it's not Finley Flanagan. Damn it, I would have liked to arrest him.
Drive your locked container to one of our secure storage centers.
I would have liked to arrest that dumbass, but the dumbass who murdered Christopher Bauer is Elias Willingham. Mr. Willingham, you're under arrest for the murder of Christopher Bauer. What pushed you to such madness? Me? Kill someone? Why, I've never heard of anything so unbecoming of a gentleman. Then why do we find traces of your fragrance on the throw pillow you wiped your bloody hands on? Shen Halligan's Lavender Lust is the fragrance du jour. Men and women everywhere are wearing it. But only you left traces of your silver polish on the bottle you lost at the crime scene. Silver polish? Why, it's a rare occasion that I polish my silver pocket watch. Give it up, Mr. Willingham. We have a machine which proves you pulled the candle from the holder you used to stab the victim with. A machine? What devilry is this? I cannot defend myself against such science. I confess, I killed Mr. Bauer, but I was only trying to get my daughter back. Your daughter? Yes, she left 2 months ago without a word of warning. She was only 16. She left us a letter. She said she could not stand our backward way of thinking and that she was going to Paris, but I knew it couldn't be true. My little girl would never leave me. Amid my inquiries, I heard talk of Mr. Bauer, of how he would seduce girls from good families only to force them into sexual servitude. I became convinced he had taken her. And the victim confirmed it? Is that why he asked for money? Yes, he promised to tell me where my daughter was if only I paid up, but then he laughed and said he never met her. I became enraged. I just wanted answers, Senior Trooper Matthew, so I took that candlestick holder and you stabbed him in the face. Yes. Now I'll never know what became of my darling girl. I can understand the anguish of not knowing the fate of your daughter, Mr. Willingham. But this story of which you have spun yourself resulted in a man's murder. You're under arrest.
$15% or more in car insurance. You switch to Geico. 90 eyes. It's what you do. Show them
Mr. Willingham, you stand accused of the murder of Mr. Bauer. How do you plead? Guilty, Your Honor, but that vermin robs me of my daughter. I, better than most, understand the pain of losing a loved one, Mr. Willingham, but no amount of grief justifies taking the law into your own hands. I was desperate. I just wanted to know what had happened to my little girl. Then you should know that I took it upon myself to investigate your daughter's fate, Mr. Willingham. And it transpires that, having consulted the Concordia Ferry Company's departure records, your daughter did indeed leave for Paris. You have therefore killed a man admittedly one of questionable morals, based on false suppositions. As such, this court has no other option but to sentence you to 15 years in prison. What? My daughter did go to Paris. I killed a man for nothing? What a tragic case, Matthew. It appears Mr. Willingham simply could not cope with the departure of his beloved daughter. But to think it drove him to invent such a wild story, killing a man to avoid facing his grief. But you're right, we must now turn our attention to Finley Flanagan. Our encounter with him was most concerning. His cockiness shows that he believes himself to be above the law, and I dread to think what a man like that may be capable of. We must continue to investigate the Irish gang's influence over Sinner's End, Matthew.
I would like to pay my respects to your beautiful partner.
Yo, Danny, got a visitor here.
Hi. Almost didn't recognize you.
Antidepressants.
Hooker by Crook 26. Let's take a look at the other ones.
I feel like a new man.
You look
No silver accessory for Finley Flanagan. Gladys Perrin cleared from the start.
I want to apologize.
Adriana Brazier cleared early.
The man you met 10 days ago was not me. The real me.
And Madame Jean, no brown hair.
Maybe over dinner.
It was Elias Willingham. I'll see you guys for Hooker by Crook 26. Okay, folks, we have come back. Let's start Hooker by Crook 26. Matthew, we have successfully solved yet another sordid murder. We must now turn our attention to the Irish gang running Sinner's End. Our encounter with Finley Flanagan, one half of the brother-sister duo at the head of the gang, was most concerning. He clearly believes himself to be above the law, and who knows what a man like that may be capable of. This Flanagan character sounds right up my alley, Matthew. Besides, I've been dying to get out in the field again, and this time I'll bring Rasputin. I'd bet my left arm that Flanagan does his business in the privacy of the barbershop. You'd be surprised at how many shady dealings take place over a quick trim. I'll meet you there. We shall take your word for it, Rose. Matthew, before you leave, Madame Jean wishes to speak with you. Well, I suppose you should see what Madame Jean wants, Matthew. I shall wait for you in the interrogation room. Wait a minute, folks.
I thought the bike. So you guys took with him?
All right.
So.
And let's take a look at what Madame Jean wants first. Senior Trooper Matthew, thank you for seeing me. I appreciate how quickly you solved this murder. All in a night's work, Madame Jean. Now, if that's all, there is, in fact, another matter which I was hoping you could help me with. It's about my girls. Some of them have gone missing. Missing? Are you certain they did not simply choose to leave your employment without informing you? It may be difficult for you to comprehend, but I'm not a slave driver, Senior Trooper Matthew. My girls are free to come and go as they please. They wouldn't disappear in the middle of the night like one just did 2 days ago. She didn't even put on her shoes. I just wish to be certain of their well-being, Senior Trooper Matthew. If you discover that they are safe and do not wish to return to my employment, then I shall accept their decision. I see. Well, I suppose you could take a look around your premises for signs of evil doing. You are welcome to examine my brothel from top to bottom, Senior Trooper Matthew, and please take this money to help you. Nice, 20 grand.
My address book, that's how he got Danny's phone number. Maybe that's where he went. I just had her phone number. He doesn't know anybody else in the city. He probably went to the precinct. John, do you keep a gun in the house? You think he'd hurt himself? It's possible. It's in a lockbox, childproof. I don't think he can get it. In a full manic state, hyper-adrenalized.
All right.
It's
Hope she doesn't live in the building. Should be allowed to post a warning sign on his door.
Aha!
She's never seen him.
You know the girls who's a black.
Come on in. Just wait. Take it easy.
Okay.
How could she not know about him? He made all the papers.
Grandma will get the phone. I am not sure what to make of Madame Zhang's claims, Matthew. Is she really concerned about the welfare of her girls, or does she just wish to lure them back into the business? I fail to see anything out of the ordinary except for that shoe which you just picked up, but it may simply have been discarded in a fit of passion. Oh, astute observation, Matthew. Madame Zhang did mention one of the missing girls had left her shoes behind. I guess we had better take a sample of that dirt. There we go. Let us send that dirt you collected from the shoe to Viola, Matthew. With any luck, it shan't be a complete dead end. This is 9 hours. Briefcase. There we are. Alright. Matthew, it feels good to be in the field so soon again. Now about this Flanagan brute, have you found any leads? You're right, those shamrocks on the briefcase you found are the Flanagan siblings logo. And I hear cracking locks is your specialty, so have at it.
Thanks for coming. Maybe you could talk some sense into him. Uncle Andrew, we got company. Hey, remember me? Remember our game plan?
8946.
Tony wasn't responsible for ramming down this subway. He had something that's called
6253, yep.
You just have to stand trial. They'll find you not guilty by reason of insanity.
My, I did not expect to find such a childish item in this briefcase, Matthew. Mind you, it appears to be quite old. And look, the diary belongs to Finley Flanagan himself. Ha! How scary can this Flanagan be when he had a leprechaun on his diary as a child? Let us take a peek inside. Well, this is bleak. This page shows Finley, his sister, and their parents, but the latter are scribbled out. One can learn a lot about a thug by analyzing their childhood, so let us uncover the faded text on the opposite page.
I just want to say goodbye. Goodbye, John.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the writing in Flanagan's childhood diary is in Gaelic, Matthew. But I'm afraid I don't speak a word of it. I'm sure little Evie will know though. Let us send her Flanagan's diary. That's my 4th coins to share.
In order to stop a string of attacks,
Victim's initials, rape date,
And I'll see you guys when these two are finished. Is this 6 hours? Yes, it is. Okay, I'll see you guys then. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we have come back. Let's get the results of this dirt. Hold on. Viola, what can you tell us about that dirt Matthew collected from that shoe? Is there anything to which could tie it to Madame Zhang's missing girls? To be frank, there was little of great interest among the substance. For the most part, it was simply mud. However, I finally managed to find minute traces of bear fat, which, as you may recall, is commonly used to make hair pomade. But how would hair pomade end up on that woman's shoe? But of course, Matthew, the girl who wore the shoe must have passed through the barber shop. Perhaps Gladys can tell us more. Whether she had visitors? Back again so soon, Senior Trooper Matthew? You ain't hear about another murder, are you? Thankfully not, Miss Perrin. You see, we found a shoe with traces of hair pomade on it, and we were wondering whether you'd had any lady visitors from Madame Zhang's brothel as of late. Oh, I recognize that shoe. It's me friend Annie's. She often visits. She were in a right state last time, so she were. She said some of the brothel girls had gone missing, and that she wanted to get out while she could. I'm afraid her fears may have been justified. Do you have any notion of where she could have gone? Cord blimey, Annie's disappeared too? Thing is, she had nowhere to go. She used to spend her time at the fair. She thought she'd be safe there. Please take a look at the fair, Senior Trooper Matthew. I'm begging. I'm sure Annie's there. I'll even give you some snacks to boost your energy. Well, thank you very much. As you can see, I'm well over 100,000 energy.
Opioids, which helped with the chronic pain, but back me up. Big time. Tried prunes, laxatives, still.
And I'm going with Ace here. Hopefully he'll consider having me as a partner out there in one of his videos. When he does the crime scenes, of course. I like to see it though. Ripped clothing.
Severe stomach pain and or diarrhea, and pains in the stomach or intestine. Tell your doctor about any side effects and about medicines you take. Movantic may interact with them, causing side effects. Why hold it in? Have your Movantic. Talk to your doctor about opioid-induced constipation.
There we are.
Can't afford your medication. AstraZeneca may be a It's Domino's. I have to go.
This ripped up fabric is covered in blood, Matthew. We need to sew it up. It may have something to do with Annie's disappearance.
They brought this on themselves. Now it's war, not what they dead.
Fleas and ticks?
Their whole gang.
We can do that. Only Tip kills fleas and ticks for up to 12 weeks with one tasty chew. Starts killing fleas in 2 hours and kills nearly 100% in under 12. And it's FDA approved.
Revecto is for dogs 6 months of age or older. Tonight we ride with Vector. Ask your vet.
There we are. My goodness, Matthew. There's no doubt this bloody garment used to belong to a lady of the night, perhaps even Gladys's friend. If this garment belongs to Annie, I cannot imagine that she could still be alive, not after sustaining such blood loss. I agree, something terrible is afoot here, Matthew. We must return to Madame Zhang and inform her of this development. Let's tell her about the bloody dress. Senior Trooper Matthew, have you found anything? I'm afraid we have bad news. We discovered this garment at the fair. Do you recognize it? That belongs to Annie. We feared it might belong to her. I'm sorry to tell you this, but there is no way Annie could have survived such a blood loss. Someone got to her before we could, and they are long gone. I knew something was going on. Senior Trooper Matthew, what if the same fate befell my other girls? What if there's someone out there targeting ladies of the night? It is indeed a troubling development, Madame Zhang, but rest assured that we shall endeavor to prevent this from happening again. I have heard officers of the law make such promises before, but my girls are never one of their priorities. Still, I shall not be ungrateful. Please accept this, Senior Trooper Matthew. Matthew, this turn of events is most alarming. At least one of Madame Zhang's girls is almost certainly dead, and we cannot be sure what has become of the others. Regrettably, there's nothing we can do right now, but this shall require further investigation once a lead presents itself.
Hi, we'd like to speak with Charlotte Truex.
Sorry, Charlotte left before I woke up.
It must have been pretty early, Jennifer. Where'd she go?
Well, let's see if the Gaelic text will say anything. Yeah. Hello, Evie. What have you got for us about that message in Flanagan's childhood diary? I make quite the fit. Oh, Rose, what is Ratsputin doing in here? He nibbled on my books the last time. Ratsputin and I are a team, Evie. Besides, he's got a little snack, so he won't be inclined to munch on your books this time. What were you saying about Flanagan's diary? Well, the Gaelic writing simply translates to, Fiona and I have a plan. A plan? What kind of plan? It doesn't specify, but given that young Finley had scribbled out his parents in the accompanying drawing, I decided to investigate his family history. And it turns out the Flanagan parents had their heads bashed in while they slept, when Finley and his sister were just children. But the strangest thing is that the doors were locked from the inside. Only Finley and Fiona were inside the house with their parents. The police briefly considered making them suspects in the murder of their parents, but given their young age, it was decided that they couldn't have been involved. Let me get this straight. Finley Flanagan draws a picture of his family with his parents scribbled out, writes that he and Fiona have a plan, and then his parents are brutally killed. Imagine just how disturbed a young child would have to be in order to kill their parents in cold blood, Matthew. There's only one way to get to the bottom of this. We must speak to the top dog himself.
Your parents were assaulted last night. That's why we
About his parents' death? Or deaths? Senior Trooper Matthew, I see you're back with another of your stinking copper friends. What do you want now? Watch your mouth, Mr. Flanagan. I'm not scared of people like you. I once had a thug bigger than yourself rip off my right arm, and I beat him to death with it. Ha! A lady with character. I like it. Now, what was it you wanted? We found your childhood diary with this charming little drawing. Does that have anything to do with the fact your parents were beaten to death? Their deaths ain't no secret, Senior Trooper Matthew. Someone did them in while they slept. They had it coming, if you ask me. Talk like that is enough to make someone think that you played a part in their deaths, Mr. Flanagan. I suppose it is, yeah. Only me and me sis were already investigated, weren't we? And as the police said, we were just innocent little kiddies at the time. There ain't no way we could have done something so cruel. A man such as yourself, I wouldn't be surprised if you had discovered your talent for violence at a young age, Mr. Flanagan. Ta very much for the compliment. Now I'll be seeing you around, Senior Trooper Matthew. I must say, I expected Mr. Flanagan to at least deny his involvement in this parent's murder, but he rather seemed to be hinting that he was indeed culpable. If the Flanagan siblings really did brutally murder their parents at such a tender age, there may be no limit to the savagery they are capable of as adults. Matthew, our findings concerning Madame Zhang's missing girls are most concerning. We have reason to believe that at least one of them is dead, and for all we know, the others may have suffered the same fate. There is nothing we can do until we uncover more leads, however, so we shall have to remain vigilant. The developments concerning Finley Flanagan and his sister are equally as troubling. Their parents perished when Finley and Fiona were but young children, and it appears that they themselves may have perpetrated the attack. If that is indeed the case, we have two extremely dangerous criminals on our hands, Matthew. Our next assignment is to look into Fiona Flanagan's alcohol business. One would have assumed that the recent prohibition would have rather put a dampener on things. But instead, Fiona's moonshine activity seems to be flourishing. Matthew, it'll be up to us to put a stop to it. And that's gonna do.
I was just playing.
You did 18 months for playing. Jury calls it aggravated assault.
I was framed.
Oh, must run in the family.
So what's the problem with you? You just go crazy thinking of this stupid, incompetent lawyer and his family in that fancy house of theirs, free to go wherever they want to go to be alone.
I never did nothing to Truitt or his family. Ask him.
We will. Said he just woke up. Tell me it wasn't her.
Oh, thank God. We heard about the vandalism.
April 13th. Okay.
The threats, hate mail. You're talking about Lucio Ricci. He's been since
Let's see what sticker packs I got. Another 5.
You?
3. 4 new ones. Alright.
Upstairs to his bedroom, and I felt this warm pain in my head. I felt down. And I must have blacked out for a second or something. When I opened my eyes, I saw
Okay. I do plan to do cases in elite mode here, but we'll see when I do it and what cases I do. I'll see you guys on April 13th when the next case is out. For now, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all then.